In today's video, we will be taking an unboxing and I'll be guiding you through the installation process of the Thermalright Assassin King 120 SE CPU cooler. So Michael, what do we have here? Well, basically this is a CPU tower cooler. It's from Thermalright, and the best thing is it only cost me 15 quid, which is basically no money in today's world, is it? So yeah, I mean, I think this is actually really quite a decent little product here. I mean, we're more used to having CPU coolers around the 30 to maybe £25 mark nowadays. Well, it used to be the case anyway a couple of years ago that it was about that price, but now we're kind of down to the sort of £15 or so, 15 to maybe £20 for these CPU coolers, these tower coolers, and they actually really do cool very, very well. Now, before we go further into the video, you probably notice I have got quite a bad cold, so I do apologise about that, guys, but we're just going to have to try and press on, because otherwise you're not going to get videos today, so let's just keep going. Basically, this is the non-RGB version. There is actually an ARGB version, which just has an ARGB fan, but this is actually just like the sort of grey-black fan. Personally, I kind of prefer that personally, because I kind of feel like the whole blackout sort of build is actually a little bit more stylish personally than the bling bling of RGB, but that's just me. But just know that the RGB version is only like a couple of quid more, so if you do want to go with the ARGB version, you know, and your motherboard is compatible with it, it probably is worth it just spending that little bit of extra money. But this cooler, basically, it's only 148mm in height, so it's going to be pretty much compatible with any ATX standard case now. I can't really think of many cases which you won't be able to fit this in, because 150mm is only 15cm, so that's a pretty small cooler actually. Although it does have the 120mm fan, so it's actually pretty decent in terms of cooling anyway. And I think it does have 5 heat pipes as well, this little cooler. So it is going to cool a relatively hot CPU down. There we go. Unlock chill force here. Cool. So we do get like a little installation guide and sort of warranty thing or what have you. That's pretty standard. Let's put that to the side. And then we do have our cooler here with our fan. This is the mounting brackets. This will be for both Intel and AM4. Now, I didn't actually talk about this just before, but for the CPU compatibility, for your motherboard compatibility, you can have LGA 1155, 1156, 1150, so the 115X, the 115X CPU type, or the 1200, which is I think Intel 10th gen, 11th gen as well, or the new Intel 12th gen and 13, and probably even 14, 15 and what have you now. Maybe, no, probably only 14 I think, is the 1700 basically. So you pretty much got compatibility with Intel 4th gen all the way up to about, what, 14th gen or what have you. So great compatibility there. On the AMD side, we have AM4 and AM5 compatibility. So if you want that AM3 socket, unfortunately this isn't the right cooler for you. But anyway, we do have our standard sort of greyish black fan, which is just a standard 120mm fan, nothing special there. I think it's 4-pin PWM. Let me just, yeah, it is 4-pin PWM, so that's great. We have our little cooler here. So here is our little cooler, and on the bottom there is 5 heat sinks, 5 heat spreaders or whatever you want to call them. So basically that will really, any kind of CPU which is pretty warm, I'd say anything up to Ryzen 7 5800X would probably be fine with this cooler. On the Intel side, you're probably looking at Intel, I'd say the 12700, probably up to that level, maybe even the 13700. that sort of level of CPU. I think once you're getting into like when you get up to the Intel i9 sort of stuff, or the Ryzen 9 sort of stuff, maybe you might want to actually upgrade to an AIO or a radiator basically. So yeah, this is going to do perfect for most people, I think. This is going to be absolutely fine for your sort of 6-core, your 12-thread sort of CPUs, which is really what it's more aimed at, actually. So it has Thermalright there. Like I say, for only £15, really, you're getting a lot of cooler here. This is a substantial amount of aluminium, as the USA guys like to say, aluminium, but I call it aluminium, which is the proper pronunciation. Like I say, good copper heat pipes there to really kind of, you know, get your CPU cooled as efficiently as possible. So I think that's basically everything I think you need to see, guys. Oh, actually, I'll show you the mounting, which I forgot to show you just earlier. So I'll have close-ups of this when I do the actual mounting for the AM4. But AM4 and AM5 are these sort of like red capped ones. So you've got like these sort of 4 plastic little sort of spacers or something, I don't know what you call them. And then the 4 screws which are there, so that's for AMD obviously. And then you've got your 1700, which has got your blue caps for your blue sort of spacers with your 4 screws there. And then you have your 1200 with your black caps or your sort of black spacers, which are all pretty standard for your, you know, the 1200, the 1155, 11.5X basically, and you use the 1700 screws for your 1200 or your 1150X, 11.5X sockets basically. So you use those same screws, which is a little bit confusing because they haven't actually kind of said that, but that's how it is. Now, if you're using AM4, you obviously just use the mounting plate, which is with your motherboard already. And I'll show you that as we do the mounting. But if you're using the 11.5X or the 1200s or even the 1700 sockets for Intel, you will need this, which is like your little mounting plate, which actually is adjustable to the different positions. So this is in currently 11.5X mode, but if you need to drop it down to the 1700, you can just literally just move the little peg up. Yeah, so the little peg will just move up, and then you just move it back down for when you need the 1200 or the 11.5X ones. So that's only for Intel. Again, AMD don't need that. Then you have your standard thermal paste, which will probably do 5 or 6 applications, but you're not going to get far with that. And it's the Thermalright one, which we will use it, but it's probably not the best on the market, but it's usable. And then you have like these mounting brackets, which will go on your CPU, your actual socket itself, and I'll show you that as we do that. And then you have your hooks for your fan. So your hooks basically go into your fan like that. And again, I'll show you as we go along. But I think now let's switch to the overhead and we'll do a CPU install on AM4. So here we go with the AM4 installation. So I'm using a Gigabyte X470 Aorus Gaming 7 Wi-Fi motherboard here. And I'm going to be using a Ryzen 7 2700X to be installed. So let's get the retention arm up on your CPU. Carefully take your CPU, check your pins, make sure they're all good, which mine look all good. The Ryzen, it goes where the little thing is, the little gold pin. So unfortunately my 2700X actually had bent pins, so we're going to have to use the Ryzen 3 3100, which is the only CPU I've got left, unfortunately. So I don't know whether I've damaged the pins or whether what's happened, but anyway, let's carry on. There you go. That's basically it should slot in all the way in and be perfectly flush with the actual socket, which it is. I'll just put a little finger on there and then put it down, and there we go. That is our CPU installed. We're having to use the Ryzen 3 3100, which is going to be a little bit less powerful, but I still think it's going to be more than adequate for what we need. This is only an example anyway, really. So yeah, I think it will be fine. Next step is to take off the retention bracket, which is well the mounting bracket or whatever it's called. Basically these 4 screws with these retention clip things. Like so. So the next stage is you want to keep in the mounting plate, which is actually at the bottom here. It's actually at the bottom of the motherboard, and you can just see the plate just sticking through here with the 4 little prongs. So what we do now is we take the little bag that we've got here, and we're going to open the AMD one, which is the red one here, with the screws there. And they even say AM4 on them as well. So you just put them over the 4 little holes, which is on your sort of mounting plate there, as you can see from the example. There we go. Then you need to take these little brackets, which are next. So these little brackets will just go and will just literally sit on the actual sit on them like that, but you're going to need the screws. So you take your screws, which are in that bag as well, and then you're literally just going to plop it in. There you go. So once you've done one, obviously tighten it down fairly tight, but not too tight. Just enough to where the screws stop, and then that's all good. There you go. So then I would suggest you then move your motherboard to this side, so it's sort of more vertical, and this side up, because you're going to need it that way really when you install the cooler, because the cooler is going to go across there. Your Thermalright, it's up to you whether you have it that way or that way. I'd probably go that way, but it isn't really going to make much difference. So we're going to install it that way, and the 2 prongs go on like that basically. You are going to want to take off your little seal, your little plastic seal here. But obviously we're going to put thermal paste on it first, once we take that warning thing off. So we'll just use the Thermalright one which comes with it. Just a little blob in the middle. Should be enough, that's alright I think. Then remove our little sticker thing. There you go. So you can see the heat pipes there. So they're all exposed, so when we put them on, it should all be good basically. If everything goes to plan, but we'll see. So as you lower this, it's basically just going to go on top, but you're going to angle one side in at a time. Hopefully you can see that. My hands might be a little bit in the way, but I do apologise. So we're just going to kind of angle it down like so, and then screw in at one side, then to the other. So we get a little bit of contact that side. Sorry if my hands get in the way again. We get a little bit of contact that side, just so you can feel them biting basically. Then we go back to the other side. I'll try and get my hands out of the way, but it's really awkward filming from this sort of angle. I've noticed I've put the Thermalright going that way when I said I was going to go the other way, but we're going with this way now. It doesn't actually matter. It's just a preference on how you like your sort of styling, really. I think the cooler is actually ambidextrous, or whatever you call it, so you can go either way, from what I know. And then you just don't tighten too far. You go up to the point where it doesn't go any further with your screwdriver, and then you stop, obviously. So we should have good contact there. just looking at the CPU now, it looks like we've got good contact. I can see the thermal paste, well, just about, as the thermal paste has started to shift round, so we should all be good there. We should have decent contact. I might be able to get some performance benchmarks for you, but it depends on my time. So I will try and we'll try and do a CPU. We'll try and do a CPU test where we test the CPU up to 100% to see what the performance of this CPU cooler is and to see how good it is. But before that, we just need to install our fan now. And to be honest, I really do hate these little things, these little sort of clip things, but they are what they are basically. They're not great, but they'll do the job. So basically with your fan, this is blowing, this side will blow air out this way, and then obviously the air will come in from this side, so you want your fan down that way. I'll put my cable fairly near where the CPU fan connector is, so obviously that's better for cable management. In fact, we might put it that way so it kind of goes under. Yeah, so we'll go with that. So basically, put the fan up to here. Hopefully we can get this right. You put your clip in this way and that way into that bit. This is always awkward, I find, these fans, but, or these clips, but hopefully we'll get there. There we go. We got it. So eventually I've got there. We've got the clips. These are really actually annoying, these clips, but we've got there. We've got one side on. Hopefully I don't get too much in the way here. But these are really, again, quite frustrating to kind of get on. You've got to get them right the way round there. I don't know if you can see that. Basically, you've got to get them right the way round so they're all flush at the bottom there. It's quite annoying how those fans work, I find. And these clips are actually quite badly designed, but they will stick on and they will be fine. The fan is perfectly positioned enough, so we're all good there. So all we've got to do now, just put our little CPU fan header into our, well, CPU fan connector into our header. Again, this is a little bit fiddly with the motherboard layout and what have you. There you go, we got there. Hopefully you did see that on camera. I'd apologise if you didn't. And then probably I would just move that out into your case somewhere or something, or you could even just go under the actual cooler, I think, just to cable manage a little bit better. So this is the conclusion to the Thermalright Assassin King 120 SE CPU cooler. Overall, I'm pretty impressed. Yeah, it wasn't too bad in the end. I mean, I do admit the installation was a little bit tricky. The actual putting it in, the actual CPU cooler itself was fine. The fans, I don't like how the clip fans on the side there, but that's just really awkward how it's done, and you have to really kind of bend it round, and it's all just a bit, it's just a bit not great how that installation is. But the actual CPU, like heatsink itself, that was actually pretty simple to install. That was fine, and to be fair, the performance is actually really good of this little thing. Now, unfortunately, like I said in the video, the Ryzen 7 2700X did actually have some bent pins, or it just wouldn't fit in the CPU socket at all. It was just bulging out basically and didn't sit flat, so I didn't want to risk installing that. So we had to install our Ryzen 3 3100, and basically when I run the Cinebench R23, when I did that test, basically it went to about 40 degrees even at 100% usage on the CPU, and it just didn't go any higher. So 40 degrees maxed out on your CPU is really cool, isn't it, guys? I mean, I mean, obviously, yes, it's only a 4-core 8-thread CPU, and there's only like 65 watts kicking out of it, or not even that. It's probably only about, you know, 55, maybe 60 watts at most kicking out of the little CPU. So, I mean, obviously this big CPU tower cooler should be able to, you know, take that fairly easy. So that's not a problem, but it is quite impressive to only get 40 degrees maximum even when you're running the CPU 100%. So that's actually pretty good. And idle was about 25 to 30. Now obviously I do have quite a cold room here, as I've said in previous videos, and it is on an open test air bench, which I'll have some footage of that. Actually, I'll put that over as I'm talking. It's actually just the side to me here as well. Now again, I do apologise for my cold, and hopefully you've been able to get through this video as best as you can, because it's been a bit of a struggle for me as well. But we've got there, and I just wanted to get something up for you guys, because you know, it's been 2 weeks and I've not really felt very well, and at least I've got back on the horse, so to speak, and you know, I'm back to making videos again, hopefully, and hopefully there will be one next week as well. But we'll see how this cold kind of goes. It's not great at the moment, guys. But yeah, overall, I'm really happy with the CPU cooler. I would recommend it for only £15, absolute bargain. Go out and get it. No worries, don't even think about it. You can use the AMD stock cooler by all means if you've got very low, you know, low TDP CPU. Do that, but this is a great cooler for 15 quid. It's a no-brainer. So that's all I've got for this video, guys. I hope you like this video. Please like the video. Please comment on what you think of this little cooler, or anything else that you have of interest that you want me to know or talk to you about, or answer. And obviously, guys, we will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.